Ladies and gentlemen, Division 2 is officially two-thirds of the way through their season. Only 32 points separate the top two in drivers, 7 separate Mercedes and Alfa Romeo atop the constructors, whilst 5 drivers currently try to avoid relegation. Whatever their storyline may be, the Division 2 contenders will be taking on the Jeddah Corniche circuit in Saudi Arabia. 27 corners, making up the 6.1-kilometer circuit. It's been branded the world's fastest street circuits, with 80% of the lap taken at full throttle. Hotspot on the call with you. For what seems like it's been forever since I've been in Division 2, our good buddy Infinite Gamer has been really holding down the fort here up in the second Premier Division in the Midwest. But unfortunately, he's not around tonight, so they're stuck with me. Now, as I was talking about before just a moment ago, 30 points separate the top two in drivers. Doesn't really sound like a lot, but when you look at the point structure, a first-place finish is worth 85, and if you want to take 32 points or so, we get 30 points is back to P12. So an off race for either one of the championship leaders at the moment, that being Sui in the Alpine and Travis Scott in the Red Bull, and it may find yourselves with the tables turning atop the table. We've got Demo on his outlap at the moment. In the AlphaTauri, he makes his way. I believe next up we're going to have one of the McLarens out on track. It is Tono in the second McLaren. Once again, it feels like it's been forever since I've been in Division 2, but here we are yet again on a track which I don't want to say it hasn't really aged all that well with this new game. There are a lot of places now where it just feels so much more difficult to actually control the car. As we're going to see, Demo is going to be the first out on the time lap tonight. But while we have a moment, quick look at the drivers' standings. As we said before, Sui leading Travis Scott by 32 points, 583 to 551. Frenchie P3, 484. Andrew Mason, the Alfa Romeo, 441. Cam Tizzle, 423. Josh Senior, 419. Ulek Hovland at 387. Gamboa, 379. Slayer Eyes, 360. And Knuckles rounds out the top 10, 355. As far as constructors, Mercedes atop Alfa Romeo by 7 points, 1014 to 1007. AlphaTauri second, 938. Alpine 892, Aston Martin 820, McLaren 803, Red Bull 784, Haas 777, Ferrari 657, and Williams 627. So a lot still to play for here, as we have Demo on his first flying lap of the Jeddah Corniche circuit here, down into the first corner, down into about second gear. Kind of tricky as that corner switches camber back and forth. You may find yourself a little bit difficult there. In towards now turn 4, they've actually taken away the gap that was on the inside of the corner, which you used to typically cut that corner. It's now very much more difficult to take exit here of turn 8. You got to be careful of these raised curves through sector 1, as if you bottom out on that, you're probably likely to go for a spin. At the very least, you're going to ruin your lap time, and you're going to be given well, at least in the race, you're going to be given warnings for exceeding track limits. These raised curves are menaces. As you can see, though, these stretches of walls here in Sector 2, they have been pushed back, so there's a little bit more vision on this circuit now. You can very much take this DRS section of T18 to T22, very much similar to how you used to be able to take the Sector 3 in the Vietnam course back in F1 2020. Very strict, it's a DRS section. It is very wiggly. You gotta get the correct line through it, and you gotta make sure you're spending as least time as possible getting through that section of the track. In towards turn 27, heavy on the brakes. Chooses to only go down to third gear. Gotta be careful of exit. They push that wall back slightly as well, maybe about 6 inches to a foot off of where it initially was. As Demo goes 129, 156. Now that looked a pretty solid lap. I'll be interested to see where the other drivers come out to here. As next up across the line is the McLaren of Tono, who goes 128, 544. That clears Demo by 0.6 of a second. Now I thought Demo's lap was actually pretty good, and that one may have been slightly put to bed there by the McLaren of Tono, who does well to put himself on provisional pole, but still drivers across the line here. Jordan goes P2, 3.5 tenths off. Frenchie has gone P5. Cake Thomas P4 at the moment. With next up the Red Bull, I believe it's Travis Scott, who goes provisional pole 128.203. As GSR Black, not long after, within 0.03 of a second of the Red Bull of Travis Scott. And I tell you what, that's where the strength may be coming from this Alfa Romeo team, putting in good qualifying results. Because GSR Black has put in a good one there. And we're only just a couple of minutes into the session. As still, there are some drivers coming to the line. Ulek, I believe, has just gone P7. Next up, one of the Ferraris. I believe it's going to be that of Cam Tizzle starting a time lap here. He's got the Aston Martin of Slayer Eyes behind him. Slayer Eyes coming to the line here. Looks pretty okay. He'll put himself P4, 128.747. Within 5.5 tenths of our provisional pole sitter of Travis Scott, with his 128.203 looking, well, I don't want to say the word untouchable, but if your name isn't GSR Black, you might have a little trouble reaching that one. It's a very solid lap from Travis Scott. Next up, we have an AlphaTauri. Not AlphaTauri, well, he's on his way into the pits, that being Demo. Next up, we've got another McLaren. Is it Tono? I'm sure he's going to be coming back to the pits here. Yes, he does. So now we may have another lull in the qualifying session. As we can see, GSR Black on low fuel, as well as Travis Scott, I believe, is going to be getting there any second. And, well, that any second happens to be now. So, we now have a slight lull in the action. Thus, do we see Pingolo on a time lap currently, as we also have Cam Tizzle making his way through Sector 2, currently residing on the medium tires. Is that Ferrari? Let's see what Pingolo has to offer. Or is Cam Tizzle further ahead in the lap? Well, Cam Tizzle's just gone purple Sector 2 on this set of medium tires. Maybe. Is there strength on the mediums tonight? Very high-speed track, but there is degradation in play. I'm assuming we're going to find ourselves another medium to hard. I gotta say, oh, that was quite the wiggle coming out of the final corner there. That one's going to hurt his time. Well, he's going to pull off from the pits anyways, but I tell you what, I'm going to be completely honest. It's been a couple weeks now. I have not been taking notes on the tire strategy. You know why? I think it's a little bit more interesting, and it's a lot more fun when we just simply don't know what's going to happen. That's the best way I can describe it, because I'm going to be quite honest with you. I don't have tire data for here, and I tell you what, when we see different strategies in play, and we see get towards the end of the race, and we see different drivers doing different things, it does become quite interesting to say the least. We have Josh Sr. Making his way into the pits, so we only 2 drivers out on track at the moment, Pingolo being one of them, and the McLaren of Cake Thomas, who is Cake Thomas on a timed lap at the moment. What's happening with my controller? Why can't I only switch between the Alpines? Well, that was a little odd. Cake Thomas out of the final corner now. What does he have to offer as he makes his way towards the line? Looking pretty good, but he will not improve. Still about half a second off of his previous best time, as we do have Pingolo on a time lap, mind you. He's gone purple Sector 1, making his way through the banked corner of turn 13. That one, you know, not necessarily the biggest overtaking zone, but still fun to see drivers take some different lines going through that corner, and it can definitely be one of those turns that proves to breed some mistakes, as we see drivers often have oversteer on the way out, which could find yourself in the barriers, as we now have Pingolo making his way towards, well, he's gone purple Sector 2, 3.5 seconds faster than his previous best. Mind you, he is 8 seconds off the pace at the moment. Well, let's see what he's got. I tell you what, looks a pretty strong lap. Haven't seen any mistakes so far. 10 minutes left in the session here in Division 2, not Division 1. Although a lot of drivers on this grid, I believe, do have the quality to be Division 1. To the line comes Pingolo. What does he have in store? Looks a really solid lap, and to the line he goes, and he will go P4, 128.697. Moves within half a second of our provisional pole sitter, Travis Scott, and the masses coming back out on track now. Only 4 currently in the pits, that being Josh Sr., Swee, Frenchie, and Cynical. Everybody else is on track at the moment. But Pingolo moves himself onto the second row. Very nicely done so far, but we do have Tono in the McLaren, who will be starting one now. Let's go along with him as he makes his way into the first corner. Nice and tidy round that first little collection of 90-degree left and then right-hand corners in through turn 4 now. Uses every inch of the track, but notice how he was able to duck back in on exit before hitting the raised curb. I tell you what, this car looks glued to the track. Oh, but I think he's... maybe has he lost a little bit of time on the inside of turn, what was it, turn 9, I believe. Well, he's gone purple Sector 1, so it couldn't be that bad, could it? Through Sector 2 now, very tricky braking zone this, and got to be careful of oversteer on the way out as well. The track that, again, 80% of the lap is taken full throttle, but you really have to be careful getting back on the accelerator because, as this being a street circuit, there's not much there to help you. You really do have to feather this car back onto the throttle and able to pick up the speed as well as you can, minimizing the slip. As Tono, I believe, has gone purple Sector 2 as well. 8 minutes and 10 seconds remaining as the McLaren makes his way in towards turn 27. Nice and tidy on exit. This might be a solid lap here. Let's see what he has to offer. To the line goes Tono. It's going to be, well, I was going to say sub 128. He's missed that by only 3/100ths of a second, but it is provisional pole for the McLaren, who goes 1:28.027, and that puts nearly 0.2 of a second back to Travis Scott, who, mind you, looks as if he's about a tenth quicker through the previous sector at the moment as he makes his way through the spoon section of the track, as I like to call it, through turn 26 and 27. Oh, but he's gone too wide on exit, and like a Red Bull typically does, or has done, at the Jeddah Corniche circuit, he smacked the outside wall coming out of that final corner, and what was going to be an otherwise flawless-looking timed lap attempt will, well, it'll be a moot point now as he's gone back in, as I believe GSR Black has done just that. Cam Tizzle moves to second, who finds himself now less than a tenth and a half off of provisional pole time and puts Travis Scott back to the second row. By 5/100ths of a second. Next across the line, I believe we are going to see an Alfa Romeo. It's going to be that of Anbu Mason. On his way now in towards 26 and 27, as I believe we've just had the Aston Martin Lightwork join the session. So I believe now we are only missing the second Ferrari on track. Is Anbu Mason coming to the line here? What does he have in store? Well, it's enough to put him to P12. It's a 1:29.102. Not the best, but not bad at all. Slayer Eyes now goes P3. Just over a tenth and a half. Back to provisional pole. And less than 2/100ths of a second separate him and Travis Scott. It's going to be an absolute dogfight off the line, as now Jorday bests Cam Tizzle's time by 1/1000th of a second. Incredible stuff here. Less than, oh, and look at this, cynical, 1:27.666. As I was just going to say, we had about 0.4 of a second separating the top 10. Cynical has just blown Tono's time out of the water, with now 3.5 back to the McLaren, who now sits second place, and it's Cynical on provisional pole, with the clock winding down here, just under 6 minutes to go. But still, nevertheless, the dogfight we're about to have. Off the line here, we've got 1 second separating the top 10 back to Pingolo. Oh, by the way, that second goes from P10 all the way down to P16. And oh, by the way, Sui and Frenchie, I'm assuming, going to be coming to the line here shortly, as there goes Sui in towards Sector 3. Next up, we have an Alfa Romeo, I believe. Is it Anbu? Yes, it is. And he's probably going to be on his way in here. Yes, he will. Cake Thomas, 0.5 of a second quicker through Sector 1. Barely, and I think he just missed the outside wall then. As we got Sui coming to the line, he is able to go P14, 1:29.103. Not bad, but here's Cake Thomas, still, as we said, half a second quicker through Sector 1. Be able to see the timing here. 7, almost 0.8 of a second quicker through Sector 2. Cake Thomas might be having a shout for the top 10 here. 4.5 minutes remaining as now the masses once again heading back into the pit lane. Into the final corner. Carries a nice amount of speed coming out of turn 27 to the line. Goes Cake Thomas. I think he'll definitely be improving here. Moves himself, yes, well into the top 10. P8. Now finds himself only 6.5 off the pace of our provisional pole sitter. And that is a very respectable time from the McLaren. So NFS Lightwork in the Aston Martin. Now he's joined the session late, so I'm not sure if he's going to be able to... Ooh, it looks like Adel Tonian has retired. I don't want to say that's in the pits, but NFS Lightwork, who's joined the session late here, I believe he's going to have the one opportunity to set a timed lap. He's looking to make it... He's looking to make it 3 in a row. He won the Netherlands. He won Canada last week. Could he potentially provide the upset here and take the win in Saudi Arabia? Coming up next, our following 3 races is Singapore next week for the 14th on the eve of the first practice session for the real-life Singapore Grand Prix, now with the new layout being implemented into the game. Very, very fun times to see. I drove that track in time trials not long ago, and boy, can I tell you, it feels a complete different animal, and there's going to be a lot of overtaking in that one. After that, we move to the Suzuka International Racing Course on the 21st for the Japanese Grand Prix, then on to Brazil, Qatar, and Bahrain. Round out the season here. Bahrain should be a very fun season finale. My favorite track. As you can see there, Mitch Burns, who I'm not sure if he was on a time lap or not, but he has completely bottomed out over the exit curb through turn 10. And as you can see, that one has not helped him, as he's going to now have to abandon his lap. Light work, not only is he looking to go back to back to back, he's looking to put up his 4th race win of the year. Tono on an outlap now. GSR Black making his way through Sector 1. Although it has to be said, it doesn't look like he's on that much of a quick one. We'll see when he gets back up to the line. Yeah, this is not the one to look out for him. 2 minutes and 15 seconds left. Tono on a timed attempt here. Let's see what he's got. Cynical now exiting the pits with what looks to be, well, he's going to have some traffic ahead of him. Tono will as well. Only the AlphaTauri of Mitch Burns, not Mitch Burns, the other AlphaTauri of Demo, a Ferrari of Cam Tizzle, and I believe the Williams of Pingolo, the only 3 drivers ahead of Tono here. So I think if he has some clean enough track, he'll be able to put one down here. Yellow flag ahead of him, however. Is he going to get a tow from this Ferrari ahead? I'll tell you what, they're not really clearing the racing line here. Well, I mean, they're not done too bad, and I tell you what, he's faster through Sector 2 by 0.08 of a second so far. Is that of Tono as he makes his way into the spoon section of the track. 1 minute and 20 seconds remaining, as I believe the Alfa Romeo of GSR Black is going to be coming in here shortly. He's done all he can do, as Tono now making his way into the final corner for his... Oh, and he spun it! And that's the end of it! And Tono, who I believe could have been on pace for provisional pole, well, that is not exactly the way he would have wanted to end that qualifying session. His car ends up in the barriers on the inside of turn 27. Not ideal at all. Is anybody else on a timed lap here? We do have the Aston Martin of Slayerized. It's actually not Slayerized, it's Lightwork about to start a timed lap. Slayerized making his way into Sector 3 now. Do have a nice train of cars here coming up out of the final corner. 30 seconds to go. Might be a slight bit of traffic here for the Alfa Romeo of Anbu Mason. The Haas of Ulek Hovland. As Slayerized, I believe, he just abandoned his timed lap there. I'm not quite sure. Either that or the Red Bull has gone around him there. Maybe is he going to be starting one here? I'm not quite sure. That looked a little weird to me. That's Travis Scott now starting one. 7 seconds remaining as the last round of qualifying lap attempts about to start. Cake Thomas will not find the line in time. All he can manage is P11 at the moment. I believe Pingolo has lost the car coming out of turn 17. His car lies stranded out in Sector 2. Hopefully the car has been cleared in time. Yes, it has. Coming out of the final corner now, we have an AlphaTauri. It looks it's going to be that of, where is the AlphaTauri? Of Mitch Burns. Well, he's done all he can do. Ferrari coming up behind him of Cam Tizzle. Does Cam Tizzle have anything to add here to this fight? To the line goes Cam Tizzle. Provisional pole for Cam Tizzle. 1:27, 5:14, and now Cynical has some work to do as he finds himself a 10.5 off the pace, although over 2.5 tenths quicker through Sector 2. Cam Tizzle might be having a fair shout for this one. Cynical looks absolutely rocket pace right now, but he's going to have to absolutely nail this final corner if he wants that chance for pole position. I tell you what, this is looking to be one of the more perfect laps I've seen of this Jeddah Cornish circuit. To the line goes Cynical, and it's a 1:27, 3:10, 0.2 of a second better than Cam Tizzle. As Slayer Eyes exiting the final corner now. He's not going to have anything to do. Travis Scott to the line. Does he have one of the death? And he manages to go third. 127.687. Puts himself back onto the second row. What a qualifying that was. And it's Cynical, seemingly at the death, reclaiming that pole position time. So your starting grid then for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. It's Cynical, pole position by 2/10 over Cam Tizzle. It's third, Travis Scott. Fourth is GSR Black. Fifth is Tono. Sixth, Mitch Burns. Seventh is Jorday. Eighth, Pingolo. Ninth, Slayer Eyes. 10th is Demo. 11th, Cake Thomas. 12th, Ulek. 13th is Hightower. 14th, Josh Sr. 15th, Ambu Mason. 16th, Sui. 17th, Adaltonian. Frenchie and Lightwork rounding out the field. P18 and P19, respectively. 12 places occupy 1 second from pole position with Ulek in that 12th spot. It's going to be a dogfight off the line. Let's see if Cynical is going to have what it takes to hold off the Ferrari of Cam Tizzle, looking to get back on it here. Stick with us. So the night sky has fallen on the Jeddah Corniche circuit once more as the Division 2 grid looked to take on this very difficult, very high-paced, and very focus-driven 6.1 kilometer street circuits. Every time we visit this track, I do recall the story of when I raced here in Division 3 and I had a migraine for the next 6 hours. I couldn't even fall asleep that night because that's the amount of focus that you need to put down consistent laps at this track. One slight mistake and it's all over. Reminder that formation lap is still off. Division 1 is testing that tonight to see if the glitches with that have been resolved. We've had a couple of updates since that glitch has taken place. If it's been fixed or not is going to be up to the lads at EA, which, well, they do fail us at sometimes, but, well, I'll pretend to have faith for them now. That's all I'm going to say to that. We do have 19 drivers on the grid. A reminder, once again, 32 points separate the top two between Sui and Travis Scott atop the driver standings. And as far as constructors, it's only 7 points separating Mercedes and Alfa Romeo. And once again, as we mentioned earlier, 32 points sounds like a lot, but that is a difference between a win and P12. So one bad race by either of the two drivers may really open up this championship battle. It doesn't really look as if they're going to be challenged from anyone else in the top 5. It does look as if, oh, is what's happening here. Looks like Tono's going to have to rejoin the session. I'm not quite sure what's happened with that. But it doesn't really look as if Frenchie's going to be able to challenge for the title at this point. He's at 484, Ambu at 441, Cam Tizzle 423. So it looks like this championship battle may come down to the Alpine of Sui and the Red Bull of Travis Scott. But, I tell you what, 12 drivers within a second of each other on the grid tonight. This one could get very interesting very quickly. Feels like it's been a little bit since we visited this circuit. The last time we did for Division 2 was back, I believe it was the opening round of last season, Season 9. That race was taken by Callie Robb, as now the lights are coming on here in Jeddah. We have 5 lights, and it's lights out and away we go, and I think Cynical may have gotten a better start there than the Ferrari of Cam Tizzle. Travis Scott looking to peek his nose in there, but he doesn't have enough room, and it's the Alfa Romeo of GSR Black who's lost a couple positions, and we now officially have the first virtual safety car of the day, as the Alpine of Demo has found something here. We've got the Mercedes of Josh Sr., Hightower involved. Frenchie, I believe, may have been involved, but we do have at least 3 cars involved in that melee at the beginning, that being the Red Bull of Hightower, the Mercedes of Josh Sr., and unfortunately the AlphaTauri of Demo. And oh, by the way, Mercedes teetering on to this Constructors' Championship lead by only 7 points. That one's not going to help him, as the virtual safety car out on track. While we have a minute, look at the tires and the positions gained. Looks like the top 5 has stayed the same. Everybody else, minus that of Ambu Mason, has made some sort of position change. Very interesting one there. Looks like, oh, we do have a good influx of tire strategies tonight. The top 4 choose the mediums. Tono and Jorday on the softs. Mitch on the mediums. Cake on the softs. Rest of the top 13 from P9 down is on the mediums. Only 2 drivers occupy the hards. It's Lightwork and Anbu Mason. Knuckles on the soft. Frenchie mediums. And then Hightower and Josh Sr. on the soft. So a good little mixture of tire strategy tonight, as the virtual safety car still not back going here, although it does quite look like we're back on the green flag racing, and now we are. Cam Tizzle within 0.3 of a second of our leader of Cynical. We were hoping he was going to give him more of a battle off the line, as Jorday down to the inside. It's either that or Mitch Burns around the outside, but either way, it's a battle here between these two as they head down the pit straight, and Mitch Burns is going to tuck back in line, as it looks like now Slayer Eyes is going to go side by side with Pingolo down to the first corner, as yet again Jorday and Mitch Burns battle it out for that 6th position, as well as the McLaren of Cake Thomas looking to poke his head in this battle, and it's still side by side between these two, as now they make their way towards turn 4. Not exactly the place you want to go side by side, and as you can see, that was contact there with the Aston Martin pushing the Williams to the wall on the right side, and Slayer Eyes missing the corner. The McLaren of Tono within 0.4 of a second of GSR Black here, as once again, oh, it looks like Slayer Eyes, something's gone with him, because he's losing positions now. He's back to P13. And he was side by side with Pingolo again, and I'm not quite sure what's transpired after that. I'm not sure if Slayer Eyes has damage, or what the case may be, but considering where he was coming off of the corner, I'm going to say he may have bottomed out on the exit curb, that being of turns 8 and 9. With how low he was on the inside of the circuit, that's going to be my guess. Soft to mediums lap 10 to 12, medium to hard 12 to 16. That's what the game says your strategy is. Let's see how closely the drivers follow it. Yellow flag towards the back. It's the Mercedes of Josh Sr. I believe he's also bottomed out on a curb somewhere and finds himself trying to recover at the back of the grid. 0.1 of a second separate Mitch Burns and Cake Thomas here as they exit turn 27. DRS not even enabled yet. Cynical goes fastest. 1:31, 5:43 to the inside goes Cake Thomas on the AlphaTauri of Mitch Burns. Very nice to Cake. He'll need a good result as he looks to outbreak the AlphaTauri. On the left side, contact being made there. Nothing malicious at all, but they're still side by side, and I'm hoping they don't collide once more, as Cake Thomas, I think, is going to do the right thing here and let off and allow Mitch Burns to have that position. Cake Thomas, very seasoned and veteran driver. I want to say he came into the league around season 3, and we're on our 10th season, so he is definitely one of those drivers that does know better, and I think, honestly, that was probably the right decision to be made there. No penalties to be had so far. Once again, everybody in the top 5 has stayed the same, although the gaps still within DRS reach between all of them. Looks like the biggest mover in the positive direction is NFS Lightwork in the Aston Martin, P11 currently. He's up 8 spots, and to his immediate surroundings is the Alpine of Adeltonian, Division 2 seasoned veteran, currently occupies P10, and he is up 7 positions since the start. Tono with DRS finds himself now trying to get within reach of GSR Black, but it looks as if Travis Scott, I think, was going to maybe have a move at Cam Tizzle there, and Cam Tizzle's gotten the better exit of the corner. Cynical goes fastest. I'm just looking for any other close ones here. Adeltonian just a couple of tenths away from Lightwork as they make their way down the pit straight. Tono moves within 3.5 tenths of GSR Black. Cake Thomas within another 3 tenths of Mitch Burns. Nobody reaching for one yet. It looks like Anbu might have a look at Ulek Hovland back there. Good to see Ulek back on track. Used to be the pretty much the leader of the graphic design team. That dude is very creative in his own right. Put together a lot of graphics, a lot of displays, and we do have a car that's gone off. Jorday has managed to go wide. Oh no, sorry, it was Tono who's gone wide through that turn 8, 9, and 10 section of the track, and now drops down to P7. Jorday gets promoted to the top 5, and now the 2 McLarens stack up behind the AlphaTauri of Mitch Burns. And I'm wondering, does Tono have some sort of damage here? Yes, he does. He's missing the end plate on the left front side. That is going to unbelievably cripple the car. And I'm going to assume he's going to want to get that one fixed. Tough break for Tono. He's been doing so well. Does he have enough to battle Pingolo here for the 8th spot? No, he's going to go way deep into the corner. Hits the wall, and there goes the remainder of his front wing. Well, thankfully, that didn't crash the car, fully, but Tono has made this one worse for himself there. Not only are those front wing damages going to hinder, downforce performance, it's also going to hinder braking performance, as we see Slayer Eyes looking to go down on the inside of Sui here. Sui, one of the championship contenders, finds himself deep in the grid as his championship rival of Travis Scott up to P3. Slayer Eyes able to move around Sui then. As now it looks as if the gap between the top two has been reduced to 0.5 of a second here between Cam Tizzle and Cynical. Travis Scott poking his head into this battle here, although I tell you what, all has been quiet from these top three so far. I mean, albeit we did have the virtual safety car really in the early goings. But maybe will Cam Tizzle have his first realistic opportunity for the top spot? And I think he's botched the braking zone going through turn 16 and 17, and that's resulted in him dropping 0.3 of a second to the Williams ahead. And more importantly, that gap has been ate up by Travis Scott, who now, I believe, might be within position to really make an effort for that second spot. As now we go through the spoon section of the track, as we see beautiful overhead shots here of the top three, all within reaching distance here, 0.3 of a second separate Cam Tizzle and Cynical atop the grid. Who gets the better exit out of turn 27? I think it's really even Stevens. Cam Tizzle may be improving a little bit. In fact, a lot of it. He's going to go down the inside, and Cam Tizzle's going to take the position, but only just and only for now. And while I may have spoken too soon, that was a very clean overtake from Cam Tizzle, and Cynical is not going to have enough to defend or to strike back in trying to get that position back. First lead change of the Grand Prix. Jorday and Mitch Burns battling it out here through the first sector. Whoever makes the least amount of mistakes is going to come out on top. Jorday looks like he might be slightly struggling with the car. Looks like a very understeer heavy car at the moment is that Haas. You can see Mitch Burns had a much easier time going through that technical first section of the track. Jorday was very, very lackadaisical when it came to being on throttle. I think that car has a serious push going on right now as Cynical hits the wall and is missing the end plate on the left front side. And Cynical drops to third. Well, how the turntables. Cynical, who not long ago was at a, comfortable enough lead of the Grand Prix, now finds himself outside the podium positions with GSR Black going around the outside and Cynical having wing damage. And as we spoke about at the beginning of the race, one single lapse in focus will result in damage or worse. And Cynical has faced the blunt of that one. And I believe, yes, coming in is going to be the best option for him. Cynical pits here from P4 after hitting the wall in the second sector. His teammate of Pingolo might be having a move on Cake Thomas here, down to the inside. Cake being on the softs, Pingolo on the mediums. That tells me we're not too far away from that crossover point, if it isn't here already, as Pingolo was able to take that position nicely from Cake Thomas there, moves himself up to 6th. Cake Thomas still within 0.2 of a second. Let's see if he's able to strike back. Oh, I tell you what, Cake may have botched that go through, and there you go, he's bottomed down on the curb. Thankfully, he was able to keep the car under control, but now has problems from NFS Lightwork and the safety car out on track as Josh Sr. loses the car through Sector 2. It's on the outside of turn 17, and well, the car's disappeared, but you can see kind of where it was. That car was stranded in the middle of the circuit, and now the strategy game comes to a point here. So I think it's fair to say that at the moment we're going to be looking at the Constructors' Championship changing the changing of the guard between the top two. As Frenchie did not have, well, he's up 5 positions in fairness to him. But Anbu's up 3, and GSR Black puts himself on the podium for now. Alfa Romeo looking to have a good day so far. Still a lot of Grand Prix left, but the signs are promising, that part's for sure, as Cam Tizzle will lead the grid into the pits. Does anyone decide to stay out? I would highly doubt. I'm going to assume drivers like Cynical and Tono will be staying out here. I don't believe they're going to be making up any positions, especially how they're going to have to keep under Delta until the grid catches back up to the safety car here. But the hard tires for Cynical, so he's already made his stop. He doesn't need to worry. I tell you what, he might get a couple here. Let's see what he decides to do. Yeah, he's going to have to remain under Delta until he gets back to the line, so maybe he'll pick up a couple here. And he'll promote himself back into the top 10. So that was a fairly good strain of luck for MMR Cynical, who puts himself now into the top 10. Looks like Tono was not lucky in that respect and still resides P15. So for the time being, Cam Tizzle will hold on to the lead. Travis Scott second, GSR Black third, but now unusual suspect of MMR Frenchie, who has not stopped yet, decided to stay out. 7-lap old medium tires, finds himself fourth, and Mitch Burns rounds out the top 5. I'm going to step aside until the safety car comes in. Still a lot of Grand Prix left to go. This one will get interesting. Well, into the pits now comes the Mercedes of Frenchie, who I thought would have been in an okay position there at the start of the safety car, but looks as if he and a couple other drivers will be coming in now, that being Hightower and Knuckles as well. Cam Tizzle still has the lead. Not to mention, as well as the 9th round of the Midwest F1 season, we do have opening day for the NFL, as currently the Chiefs and Lions are tied 14 apiece with 11 minutes to go in the first quarter. But just an hour ago, Joe Burrow signs a 5-year, $275 million extension with the Cincinnati Bengals, making him the highest paid NFL. That's the highest contracted NFL player. Wait, that doesn't make any sense. That's a lot of money. Put it at that. I would assume the safety car is going to come in at the tail end of this lap. Cam Tizzle currently occupies the lead. We do have a good spread of tires going on at the moment. I'd say it looks about a 50-50 split. Yeah, well, that's exactly that. 50-50 split between the hards and the mediums at this point. In fact, it's split evenly amongst the top 10 as well. Adaltonian, Lightwork, Cake, Jorday, and Mitch Burns occupy the mediums. Our leader of Cam Tizzle, Travis Scott, Pingolo, Cynical are the only drivers residing on the hards. And Cynical, by the way, remind you once again, he had come in earlier, as I believe, well, we haven't gotten the message that, well, I believe fairly certain now that the safety car is on its way in this lap. I don't recall seeing the message atop the screen, either that or I was rather unfocused, but reminder that Cynical had that incident where he lost a fair chunk of his front wing, and he was able to gain a couple of positions back under the safety car, as, yep, there's the confirmation that it's in this lap. So Cam Tizzle is going to be under pressure here from Travis Scott. My eyes are going to be fixated on the AlphaTauri of Mitch Burns. He's on the medium tires. He's going to be at the, well, he's really going to have his future in his hands here, as he has the fastest tires amongst the top 5. Green flag back underway here. 0.3 of a second separate Travis Scott from Cam Tizzle. You can see the grid trying to fan out behind. Doesn't look like any moves are going to be made in the first corner, although it looked as if, well, Cynical is actually dropping back here. Well, what is happening here? We have some sort of disconnect between... Okay, I'm actually not sure. You can see that on my screen as well. That Aston Martin of Lightwork bouncing all over the track connection-wise. And I believe someone has lost front wing because of it. And if it's that of Adaltonian, yes, it is. I'm wondering if he's the only one, because we did see that front wing gone as behind now. What in the hell is happening here? We're going to have nearly 3 wide into that corner. Tono's going wide as well. He's gotten contact from Frenchie from behind. I am so confused. I have literally no idea what's going on. Travis Scott within 2.5 tenths of Cam Tizzle here as they make their way through the second sector, through the DRS zone. No DRS yet, naturally, but the pace from Travis Scott, as we do have a first 3-second time penalty of the day. It's Ulek Hovland with that 3-second penalty for multiple warnings back in P18. I tell you what, 0.2 of a second in closing here, even without the battery being used. Travis Scott gonna perhaps have a look around the outside through turn 27. Who gets the better exit? GSR Black is in this battle as well, although it has to be said, he has not gotten a better exit out of 27. Down to the inside of the track moves Cam Tizzle. Travis Scott follows in pursuit. Another weave to the outside. Into the first corner they go. That was a big lockup then from GSR Black. Thankfully, he hasn't slammed into the back of Travis Scott there, although he wasn't really at any risk to, as Lightwork and Pingolo within striking distance of each other here, as it looks like Lightwork's gotten around the Williams then. Jorday within 0.4 of a second of Mitch Burns. Oh, I tell you what, Jorday, who we saw earlier, really looked as if he was struggling with the car. I tell you what, it does not look it's gotten any better, as now he's going to be under pressure from Cake Thomas. I tell you what, Jorday looks like he is really struggling with that first sector, but when you go to the high-speed section of the track, he does seem to be thriving. 0.5 of a second in closing between the top two as they weave through the second sector now. GSR Black might be having a look at this battle once again for the lead of the Grand Prix. Mitch Burns, well, he's up into 4th. I actually don't really think he's improved or lost positions off that start. And for being on the medium tires, this is a slightly disappointing start to this safety car restart here. GSR Black has gone wide just then through turn 22. And he's had to cut the corner. I'm sure he's received a warning for that. As Jorday now, down the inside, looking for Mitch Burns here. Oh, that's a big lockup. The back end of the car comes around. He may lose extra positions. He does. 3 positions go by. As Cake Thomas, Lightwork, and Pingolo, and now Cynical, getting around Jorday, who was in position to make a move on Mitch Burns, but the back end of the car came around just a bit too much. And that was quite the error there from Jorday, who has lost 4 positions in the span of exiting one corner. I am, however, thankful that he didn't lose the car even more and get in the way of Cake Thomas or any other cars, because I tell you what, he was doing all he can to hold on to that Haas machine, and he's only just done so. GSR Black, 0.4 of a second on Travis Scott. It has to be said, it looks like he's pressuring Travis more than Travis is pressuring Cam Tizzle, as we have had a yellow flag somewhere. I believe maybe was it the Red Bull of Hightower, who had a mistake somewhere. Not quite sure. So by the way, if we're once again to be reminded of the gap coming into tonight, Travis Scott, 32 points behind Sui for the lead of the championship. And as I said, it's 30 points from P1 back to P12. So at the moment, I think Sui may still hold on to the championship by a mere 5 points at most. As here we go, Cam Tizzle round the outside. Travis Scott round the outside of Cam Tizzle. And now, I tell you what, Travis Scott really has his championship dreams riding on this Grand Prix, because this really is, well, we're 2/3 of the way through the season now. It's really coming to the business end as Cake Thomas getting around Mitch Burns. Travis Scott has the ability to start a 5-race turnaround now, and it very much looks like he's on pace to do just that. As we're about halfway through the Grand Prix, and commentator's curse strikes again because he struck the inside wall going through turn 4, and he's missing the end plate on the left front side. Oh, that, you know, it does truly hurt when that happens. So now that will promote, assuming here Cake Thomas is going to inherit the 3rd spot here. Mitch Burns most likely P4. But I tell you what, this battle between Cake and Mitch Burns, we're only within a couple of tenths here. And oh, by the way, Lightwork in on this as well, as he follows from behind. I tell you what, Travis Scott is not easily giving up this position. Oh, and it's GSR Black who finds himself sideways across the circuit. Oh, goodness me. Oh, when he's ran right into the Haas of Jorday. And GSR Black is retired. Well, that's an unsafe for join as I've ever seen one. Somehow the safety car refuses to come in, as Travis Scott losing positions now to both Lightwork, Cake, and Mitch Burns. And now suddenly, oh look at this, down the inside is Lightwork. He's just taken 2 positions in 1. What a maneuver from the Aston Martin. Tip of the cap there, that one may have been brilliant. But still, the battle for this 4th spot, or sorry, 2nd spot realistically. Cake Thomas for the right side, maybe contact there. Lightwork using every inch of the track, really getting his elbows out. Mitch Burns has gone over the raised curve there. He's going to get passed by Cynical to the right, and Cynical once again in this battle. Contact with Mitch Burns. Cynical's hit the wall, and I believe has he lost wing? Yes, he has! Cynical loses the wing after contact with Mitch Burns. As it was going to be a great move from Cynical round the right side. On his way into turn 4, and the contact was made. And once again, Cynical has a good result taken from him here. And man, what a surprise it was to see GSR Black have his spin, which resulted in his DNF. I really did not expect that one. And I'm, well, a bit surprised that he's been well, interesting. Oh, Cynical's gone around again, hasn't he? Yes, he's dropped positions. Just wondering what Haas's collided with there. Because neither one of them have any damage, and well, he's really gotten into him. So that leaves Pingolo with the being the lead Williams driver here. 0.6 of a second back on Mitch Burns. Cam Tizzle, despite being on the off compound at the moment, finds himself having a 4-second buffer back to NFS Lightwork for the 2nd spot. Meanwhile, just a reminder, NFS Lightwork is currently up 17 positions. He started P19 and is also going for not only his 4th win of the season, but his 3rd in a row, as now we do have Cynical pitting here. And I believe we're going to have a good battle here. Knuckles looking for a move on perhaps Swee and Anbu Mason. Swee goes deep into the corner. Anbu gives him the room. Knuckles looking for that inside. Swee's got an oversteer. And just like that, I mean, we were talking about, oh, what's this? Anbu Mason's gone wide, and he spun it. That's going through turn 4. Yeah, I'm not sure if there was any contact there. Unfortunately, we did not get the opportunity to see. As we're going to have 10 laps to go next time by. 0.5 of a second separates Swee and Knuckles here. And, you know, not long ago we were saying how Swee was really not going to have a good result, or at the time it didn't seem so, and that Travis Scott would have had a fair shout for the championship lead. And now, Swee has the upper hand on Travis Scott. We're going to go back up the grid a little bit. Mitch Burns has 0.5 of a second back to Cake Thomas for the 3rd podium position here. Pingolo on the hards trying to work his way into this battle as well. But now as they go down the pit straight, there's Mitch Burns trying to find it round the right side. I believe he will, as we do have a yellow flag at the back. And the safety car out on track. Mitch Burns did get the position. As we do have, that is Anbu Mason, I believe. How much front wing has he lost? Because we haven't had a DNF. And the front wing is gone. And the safety car on track. And that will erase Cam Tizzle's 4-second buffer that he had to NFS Lightwork. And I mean, all credit to NFS Lightwork. You know, he started P19. Was able to stay out of trouble. And if he does find the win here, or he does find a podium, it has to be said, he will have absolutely earned it. But you do have to believe that the luck has been on his side as well, somewhat tonight. Luck does beat skill very often, as far as I'm concerned. But the right mixture of it can provide a win. And albeit I haven't been around for the Division 2 a lot this season, but I'd like to believe that out of the 4, Lightwork could have, if he is to win this Grand Prix, this one, the luck may have done a lot of work. But that's not the situation at hand at the moment. Still a lot of race left to go. We have had drivers pit for the softs. We have Swee, Hightower, Knuckles. As Adoltonian picks up a drive-through for speeding under the safety car. Unfortunate for him. Cam Tizzle on his way in. Light Work on his way in. Mitch Burns, Cake, Pingolo, all coming in. And I'd like to believe the Haas of Jordan will be on his way in as well. Yes, he is. Cam Tizzle to the softs. Light Work, we can assume, to the softs as well. Yes, he is. Mitch Burns has to wait to get to the end of the pit lane here. I believe he's going to be going for the softs. Yes, he will. Pingolo, mediums for him. That may have been slightly a mistake. Jordan mediums as well, and he's getting a front wing change. He's got plenty of time to do it. He's not going to lose many positions. Proper time for the safety car to come out for Jordan, only losing 2 spots whilst changing a front wing. So we're going to have a lot of work to do here for the safety car to get the grid regrouped here, so I'm going to step aside for the time being, but boy, do we have a race to the finish here. Safety car, I would assume, is going to be coming in this lap, and just a quick little note here. At the beginning of the race, we said it was going to be kind of an off race for Mercedes, as Josh Sr. DNF'd early, and they only had Frenchie, who at the time wasn't off to the best of starts. Well, I tell you what, I think the battle between Ambu Mason and Frenchie here will have serious implications on the constructors' standings. I tell you what, that one may come down to the wire. Well, Cam Tizzle and the safety car leads the grid around the 13th corner of the Jeddah Cornish circuit. This is officially my 86th Thursday Grand Prix casted. Not to mention all the other things, and I tell you what, I have seen some brilliant races over my time here in the Midwest Esports League. And I'm very much hoping, and I do have that feeling, that we could be in for another all-time classic finish here. As assuming it'll be coming in on 19. We'll have ourselves 7 laps to go. So the top 4 on the softs here. I do believe any of these drivers in the top 4 could get it done here. We haven't seen this, but my question is this: we haven't seen the soft tires go more. Like 7 laps is kind of approaching that window to where we don't know a lot about how the softs are going to react. That's my only concern right now, because if you started on the softs, you had the safety car early on, and you had the virtual safety car in your way as well. You know, a lot of unknowns for this top 4 right now, so I would keep an eye on Pingolo, Slayerized, and Tono, as well as Jordan. Because I tell you what, if it starts getting to the point where these softs get that high degradation come the end of the race, we might be in the looking at one of these drivers in the medium tires taking the win. But it's Cam Tizzle, with 7 laps to go this time by, will lead the Division 2 grid back to green here, as it looks as if Lightwork is going to be unable to capitalize. Cake Thomas within position here. It looks like Pingolo and the rest of the drivers on the mediums have dropped back considerably down to the inside. Look, Tono, the Haas of Jordan has gone wide, still side by side with Swee here, as it looks like Tono and Slayerized side by side. We have 0.3 of a second between the top 2, as Lightwork doing everything he can, trying to find a way to get past Cam Tizzle, who Cam Tizzle, by the way, so far has really... Oh, and that's Lightwork. That's a big mistake for him. He's been able to keep it together, thankfully, as we have a yellow flag at the back. I believe it's the Haas of Ulek. Something's happened with him. But Cam Tizzle has been absolutely on rails this whole Grand Prix, and if Lightwork is to be able to pass him here, he's going to have to absolutely put together some solid and consistent laps and really put that pressure on the Ferrari of Cam Tizzle. And oh, by the way, Mitch Burns and Cake Thomas in this battle for the podium as well. Cake Thomas, one of the drivers, may have to start thinking about avoiding relegation. Currently finds himself P16 in the points only. Jordan, Adoltonian, Pingolo, and GSR Black behind him, as it looks like Ulek has gone off of the safety car coming out. Ulek loses the car in turn 16, and we're going to have a safety car at the death. We're going to have maybe 3 laps of racing left here. I would expect anybody on those mediums may have a look and come in for the softs. Cake Thomas had a thought, didn't choose it, so did Slayerized, so did Tono. Well, I guess I'm allowed to be wrong every once in a while. Now happens to be one of those times. Nobody, except Travis Scott, everybody, barring the Red Bull of Travis Scott, has stayed out on their current tires. There's not going to be enough time, and I tell you what, that may have been the good decision anyways. Let's say the safety car, comes in at the end of this lap. That's not going to be enough time to catch up to the safety car. If you do pit, that was probably the best decision there. Well, that is bad news for Pingolo and anyone else in the mediums looking to make an impact in the top 5 here. Because realistically, these soft tires in the top 4, they're not going to have that much degradation behind the safety car. That's going to only expand their tire lives. And we were talking about how 7 laps was relatively, unknown territory regarding the tire lifespan and the degradation of the soft tires. I tell you what, we may not have to worry about that now. It's going to be pure pace to the finish. Assuming it comes in this time by, we will have 5 laps of racing left. Only 3 of those will be with DRS. I believe. I don't really still know how that rule works. It's kind of confusing. Well, the grid is caught back up to itself here. Travis Scott, well, I tell you what, I'm allowed to be wrong twice. Travis Scott has pit and was able to get caught back up. Let's see if the safety car decides to come in this lap. Cam Tizzle, as you can see, has joined again as he had connection difficulties. Well, he retakes control of his car. Safety car has not yet decided to come in. As what's happened there with light work? I'm not quite sure. So it looks like safety car stays out one more time. Cam Tizzle, what is he doing? Cam Tizzle's coming in! Is that Cam Tizzle's decision? Or was that strictly AI that's made that choice? It did look as if he rejoined the session. But Cam Tizzle, the car is pit. Back onto 7-lap-old mediums? What kind of choice is that? That doesn't seem like something he would have done on purpose. And oh, by the way, yeah. Remember how we were just talking about how Lightwork may have had an ounce of luck in this win? Well, I tell you what, I may have been correct about that. All credit where it's due. He has done his best. He started P19 and currently finds himself in the lead. Obviously, he would have had to have done something to keep out of trouble, to keep the consistent laps, to play the right strategy. But why Cam Tizzle has decided to pit just does not make any sense. As why are we having Tono lose position here? I'm not quite sure. Tonian claiming that something is perhaps wrong with the lobby. I'm not rightly sure what's happening with him. So, assuming the safety car comes back in this time, we will have, yes it will, 4 laps of racing remaining. Lightwork, with his combination of skill and, well, a fair bit of luck tonight, looking to make it his 4th race win of the season. Cam Tizzle saying it was officially an error in the game, and the AI has pit him. Lightwork leading the grid around the final corner. 4 laps to go here. Does Mitch Burns, does Cake Thomas have anything for the leader here? All 3 of these drivers I could see having a fair shot winning this race, and they've got 4 laps to prove me correct. And oh, by the way, Pingolo on those mediums as well, only 5 laps old. I tell you what, he's keeping good pace with the top 4. Pingolo doing pretty well at the moment. He may be having Cake Thomas under pressure here. Mitch Burns has lost 1.3 seconds on light work already, and the safety car's only just come in. So it looks like Pingolo might be having a look for the podium position here. And not quite yet. Still only 0.2 of a second separating Cake Thomas and Pingolo, and Cake's going to have a lot of defensive work to do. Cynical and Hightower battling it out here. The Red Bull of Hightower down to the inside, and Cynical's going to have that one. Oh, I believe that was a wall hit there from Tono. No damage to report, but that was pretty close to being deadly then. Cake Thomas now outside of a second on Mitch Burns. Mitch Burns outside of 2.1. And Pingolo looking forward on Cake here. 0.2 of a second in closing. Overtake being used. 3 laps to go this time by. Looks like a little bit further back. Yeah, it's Slayerized and Tono side by side here for the 5th spot. Oh, and Tono has lost the back end of the car coming out of the corner, and Slayerized has taken the spot. Lightwork goes fastest lap so far, and that was 3 seconds on Mitch Burns. And oh, by the way, Pingolo really close to Cake Thomas here within 0.2 of a second on their way into the first corner. And it looks like Cake still has the grip for now, as Sui getting around Tono then promotes himself into the 6th spot, and Jordan looking to get past the McLaren as well, although Tono really trying to use his elbows here and make a move past Sui. Bottoms out on the curve outside of turn 9, and he's missed that corner. Surely it will be given a warning for that. But thankfully he was able to hold on to the car. Still 0.4 of a second, and now closing. And with DRS in play, I think. No? Huh. Alright. Anyways, no DRS in play yet, as it turns out, but still 0.3 of a second, and closing. And Pingolo looking for the move around Cake Thomas here. They'll be side by side through the spoon section. Side by side, yellow flag towards the back. It is the Red Bull. It's one of them, I believe. I believe it's Cam Tizzle. As Tono and Sui moving about now, and now DRS will be enabled. And with 2 laps to go here, it's side by side between Cake Thomas and Pingolo. And Cake still has it around the right-hand side as they make their way into the first corner. I'm quite pleasantly surprised Cake was able to hold on to that spot. Pingolo has really been putting the pedal to the metal here. And if he gets his podium, he will have earned it. Looking a little bit further back. Once again, implications for the championship. Sui looking to get around Tono, his rival of Travis Scott. Oh, Cam Tizzle's retired. Is that in the pits? I'm not sure. Either way, not a good place for it to happen. Oh, Cake Thomas has gone wide through 13. Pingolo's going to swoop down to the inside. And they're side by side, and Cake Thomas somehow, I tell you what, he's done a bit of a NASCAR routine, that one. He's found the grip around the outside, he's found the exit velocity coming out of the corner, and Cake Thomas holding on to the spot. DRS activated for Pingolo here. Cake Thomas is in quite the hole at this point. He does not have DRS ability back to Mitch Burns. Tell you what, good defensive work so far from Cake Thomas, doing everything he can. Cake's on his battery, you know he is. Pingolo looking for the right side. Nothing to be had quite yet. Cake Thomas doing well to defend the inside line. Who gets the better acceleration coming out of 27? Oh, I tell you what, I think it may have been Cake that time. Jordan is side by side here with Sui. I tell you what, at the moment, it looks like Travis Scott and Sui may have potential to finish right close to each other here. Pingolo getting around Cake Thomas into the first corner. Very nicely done, but Pingolo's gone deep, and Cake might have an opportunity to the right side. Oh, and no, he's not going to have it there. Cake's going to have to wait and get the aid of DRS, and I tell you what, it does not look as if Cake has been, rather quick in the straight line speed, and there you go. Losing time even now, as Tono 3 seconds of time penalty. That one's going to hinder him. Such an unfortunate penalty to be had. And we have a yellow flag towards the back. I'm not sure who it is. Hightower. But it's light work on the final lap of the race here. I tell you what, you got to really feel for Knuckles, or not Knuckles. It was sorry about that. It was Cam Tizzle, who really, I believe, would have had this Grand Prix won had his AI not taken over the car and pit him unexpectedly under the safety cars. Travis Scott, 3-second penalty for him. But all the more, it's light work, back to back to back, and for his 4th time this season, it is light work winning here, the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Mitch Burns had a great race in his own right, finishes 2nd. Pingolo will come across the line in 3rd. The pair of McLarens cross behind, although Tono will be dropped all the way down to 9th with his penalty. Very much hats off to light work there. He's done very well. 3 wins in a row, his 4th this year, most of any driver on the grid. And I tell you what, light work I believe we've seen in Division 1 before. If he keeps winning at this rate, we may see him there again soon. So after it's all said and done here in Jeddah, it's light work claiming his 3rd win in a row, his 4th this season. Mitch Burns in 2nd, Pingolo 3rd, Kate Thomas 4th, Cynical 5th, 6th is Slayer Eye, 7th Sui, 8th Jorday, 9th Tono, 10th is Anbu Mason, 11th Travis Scott, 12th Knuckles, 13th Frenchie, 14th Hightower, 15th Adeltonian, and unfortunately for Cam Tizzle and the rest on back, they did not finish the Grand Prix. And next week, for the 11th round of the 10th season of Midwest F1 League, we head to the new Singapore layout. Hotspot, it's been a pleasure joining you once again here in Division 2. I cannot wait for next week. We'll see you next time.